Trooper Ernest Horsley of the 3rd New South Wales Mounted Rifles took part in Colonel Remington's drive to the east of Kronstadt, remembered for the capture of a large number of transport wagons which the Boers could ill afford to lose. Prior to that, Horsley took part in a mad gallop, which, although fruitless, was exhilarating and memorable. His diary contains a number of blunt criticisms on farm burning and on some of his colleagues. Monday, the 2nd of September 1901. We left camp at 5:30 this evening. We did not go far before the Boers opened fire on us, causing great confusion as we were marching in close order. An explosive bullet burst close to my head with an ominous crack, and as soon as we were surrounded on all sides, not by a great number of the enemy, but enough of them to make it very warm for us. Many bullets came unpleasantly close to me. At last, some Boers appeared right in front of us, and F Squadron made a charge for it. It was a mad gallop. Officers were forgotten. It was just a wild rush to see who would be there first. My horse is a good one, but he began to flag at the end, for we had a long gallop, as the enemy did not think it worthwhile to wait for us. However, I was up to the leaders as they were dismounting to fire at the retreating Boers. There were about 70 of us started in the gallop, but there were only 30 of us at the finish, and I was one of them. There was no fight, for the Boers wouldn't stand, and I don't blame them, as we were about 4-1. I fired till my bandolier was empty. We saw 2 Boers fall off their horses, but don't know for certain how many were shot. We are all, F Squadron, at present on top of a very rocky little kopje. We charged it with the guns, quite a necessary thing to do, I should think, considering there were only 2 Boers on it. The guns have been shelling now for some time. Goodness knows what they are firing at, for I can't see anything, although I can see where the shells are bursting. We are beneath the Drakensberg Mountains. They look very wonderful, towering into the sky. They seem to be all rock. I'd never seen such a wild-looking place. I hope we have to do no fighting in such an awful-looking place. I prefer the open country. Well, it looks as if we're going to have a biggish day of it. 6 o'clock in the evening. I feel utterly miserable tonight at the sight before me. After an awful gallop of about 7 or 8 miles, we came up with the convoy we were chasing. A sheet was hoisted on the end of a clothes prop in a token of surrender. I don't think I shall ever forget this day as long as I live. We have captured 110 wagons and Cape carts and about 20 prisoners. It's an awful and miserable sight, especially to one that is not used to it. Imagine all the wagons and Cape carts drawn up in a line with soldiers crammed into them, all looking for loot, of which there's plenty. Shearman is playing an organ and a group of soldiers are singing Just One Girl. Here and there are groups of Boer women and children with all their worldly belongings near them, some crying, others trying to comfort them, some saying a last goodbye to their husbands and brothers. After everything has been taken out of the wagons that was worth taking, they were set alight, and the veldt was just like day for hundreds of yards around. I've been just talking to 2 girls. One of them is a married woman and has a baby, but she looks quite a girl. The younger one is sweet and pretty. Her name is Sayed Kronya. She says the Boers call her Saidit, but they're both nieces of old Kronya, who surrendered with 4,000 men at Paardeberg. They're both perfect ladies and have travelled nearly all over the world. It's pitiful to see how they are trying to bear up, for everything belonging to them has been burnt or taken, and they haven't even a blanket to keep the dew off them, to say nothing of the cold. To make matters worse, there is a pack of ignorant fools around them asking them a lot of senseless questions. I gave them my horse blanket. That's all we have with us. I can say I lost it in the gallop. I would willingly give 10 years of my life to be able to help them. The eldest says it all seems like a dream to her, for they only left their beautiful home this morning, poor creatures. They will realise it's not a dream before the night is out. I have never longed so much to be at home again as I do tonight and out of this hateful uniform, for I do not come out here to ill-use women, and I'm sick of it all. We've not seen our own convoy since daylight this morning. and it's too dark to start just now. We're going to wait for the moon, which rises at about 11 o'clock. Saturday the 7th of September 1901. I've had to foot it all day and through no fault of mine. Westwood, a good-for-nothing idiot, asked me for a loan of my horse to go out on observation, he having no horse of his own. He brought him back to me lame. Consequently, I have to walk with the other dismounted men. I'd like to twist Westwood's neck for him. There are 56 of us dismounted fellows. We have to fall in with the Queens and walk with them. We've not had a very hard day of it today, as the convoy had to cross a big drift. I don't know the name of the river. The last 3 hours we have been laying down having a rest. I should very much like to take a photo of this drift with all the wagons and men crossing it. The sides are awfully steep and the natives have great trouble in getting their mules to go up to the furthest bank. It's strange to hear the cries of the boys as they encourage their teams. I have to go and picket tonight after walking all day and I'm awfully tired. I won't forget to give that unmitigated pig Brooke a piece of my mind either. Hey, good morning, Carbineers. Chiricota. Having my morning coffee. Black, no sugar, strong. Slept okay last night, but I'm on a bit of a slope with the swag, which meant I kept rolling. But eventually, when you're tired enough, you go to sleep, don't you? I did stay up a little bit last night, sort of, well, in these camping grounds, you know, staying up after 11 is considered late. I had the radio on softly listening to a lot of the songs that are on my playlist anyway. Old fart music. And, you know, dissecting my life, taken apart over 60 years of memories, year by year, mistakes I made, mistakes I avoided, people I loved, people that didn't love me, people I didn't love, people that loved me I didn't love. Yeah, trying to figure out the problems of the world. You know, we had the shearer come last Saturday. He was very disillusioned, disgruntled with Australia. I get that. A lot of people, well, I should say his age, but he's probably a bit younger than I am. But there's a lot of this disgruntled older Australians. And he was saying Australia's been ruined. I disagree. I tend to disagree. The land that I've driven through, you know, I'm up in the, I wouldn't say tropics, but I'm verging on it. If you keep going forward, I'm not far from the Queensland border, you're going to start seeing termite mounds. A lot of houses around here, I notice, are starting to be on stilts now. They put them up on stilts, I think for flooding, but also to get the cool breeze to come through under the house, I think. But yeah, the scenery's been magnificent, especially between Glen Innes and Tenterfield. Mountain passes and plunging gorges and valleys. And it's beautiful, you know. Saw some country pubs. I don't stop at pubs. I used to. It's a beautiful country. And Tenterfield's nice. I haven't explored yet. I had to get myself settled, so I've got all today, and today I've got a few things I want to see. At reception over there at the caravan park, I've got a cemetery guide, so we're going to go and see Major Thomas today, the defence lawyer for the Carbineers. He cracks a mention in the cemetery walk brochure. Quite disappointing when I got into town. It was about 30 degrees, I suppose. Being a Victorian, that's quite hot for me at this time of year, so I wanted a pool. You know, went to the other caravan park in Tenterfield, which was tiny. Craig's tiny and looked like a rat hole. They had no pool. When I came out here, they don't have a pool either. But she did put me under a tree, so she did try and look after the Victorian by putting them under a shady tree. I appreciate that. So yeah, I've got quite a few things to do today. And then today's Thursday morning, and then first thing crack of light tomorrow. Start on the way back. I've got my map out. I'm going to try and go a different way home. I'll go back through Glen Innes, and then I'll turn and go to Inverell and go home that way, because there's a couple more monuments. There's 3 more that I could document. We have a thief in the camping ground that seems to think it's their birthright to take whatever they want from the campers. Got his eye on my coleslaw and maybe a sausage. Wouldn't go astray. You have none of that, mate, or you'll be on a hot plate before you know it. Yeah, guys. Last night I was mapping out what I would be doing today, mostly involving Major Thomas and a bit of Harry Morant, when I remembered that actually there is a monument in Tenterfield to the Boers, the boys that fought the Boer, the bloody Boers. And it's a beauty too, it's a cracker. Oh. At ease, soldier. He's standing at ease with his 303. Which looks in better shape than him. This is the RSL. I'm not sure they call them RSLs in New South Wales. He's really stood the time, like he's sandstone or something, because he's starting to show signs of wear and tear. He's getting a bit smooth in his putties. That is, soldier. Oh, this is beautiful, isn't it? Tenterfield mounted rifles. Their comrades who fell in the South African during the Boer War. I don't know the Tenterfield mounted rifles. I haven't heard of that. You can actually go in. That's good. We can get a closer look at him. I like that. That must stand for the mounted rifles. Like, I know about the New South Wales mounted rifles, but I didn't know individual towns had their... Yeah, look at him. He's brilliant. He really is. And you can feel this coming away. It's crumbling with time. It's very fine sort of sand, which makes me come to the conclusion it's sandstone. Right, let's see if we can go around the back, see what else is there. It's very well maintained, it's beautiful. Sir William Bender, enteric fever at Bloemfontein. Yep, the old enteric fever, that's what got Captain Salmon at Navpoort. Right, well, I'll have a good look around here, because there's a few goodies. I've got to kill time today. I've got all day to fill. And I'm going to a meeting tonight at 7. And then a long haul home. Okay, well, this is interesting, right? This is Sergeant Major James Mitchell, killed at Elanth River on the 18th of August 1900. So that was the siege of Elands River. I went and stayed the night on the battle site. Pitt, it was Pitt who showed me around. I'll take a photo of that and send it to him. That was fantastic. That was another one of the best things I did was, anyway, Trooper Arthur Percy Britton Grey, enteric fever at Pretoria. Fallen Soldiers. This was opened in 1924 by Knip, Mayor Knip. For the Jubilee of the founding of the municipal of Tenterfield, 1921. What we look at first, I reckon this big thing down here is German. I reckon it's like a Krupp or something like that. Yep. Now, I didn't see the sign before I said that, and I'm still not convinced it's a Krupp. But as soon as I saw it, I thought it's German. And look, it says it's a World War I trophy. They got them from the Germans, the Austrians and the Turks, and handed them out to Allied nations to put on display. Yeah, look at that. This gun's 150mm howitzer by Krupp, captured by the Australian Light Horse, but we don't know where. Old wooden wheels. Bloody big caliber on the barrel, isn't it? Fucking hell. You know, you're sheltering in your foxhole, you're already going through hell with the heat and the flies. And then you got the mud and the despair and the constant fear and anxiety of death. Your best mates are being blown apart as you sit next to them. And this thing starts firing at you. So it actually says Fred Krupp, 1916. There's its serial number. You can probably look up on the Krupp website when it was made, which shift made it. And it's all in field grey. Bloody hell. Yeah, but Castlemaine's got a couple of these. That's how I sort of recognised it was similar, you know. Yeah, all through Australia you would find. Now look, the same serial number there is on the back. Yeah. And look at this. Like an Anzac tree. Yeah, they used to bring back from Gallipoli, they'd bring back the seeds or the nuts of the pines, Pine Gap. Is it? Or Lone Pine, that's it, Lone Pine in Gallipoli, and they'd plant these trees. So, I think this monument was opened in 1903 or something, so fair chance Major Thomas was here at the unveiling. Let's have a look at this one. This looks Australian or British. Far more modern. It's going to pack a punch. This is going to start. It would be a lot faster than the Krupp, delivering its payload to you wherever you're trying to hide. Yeah, the 25-pounder howitzer, British and Commonwealth. And we're 8 rounds a minute. Bang, 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 bang. Oh, we don't know where this was used. Beautiful army green, isn't it, eh? A bit of writing on there. I don't know what it means. There's the crown. George, maybe. George the Sixth. Royal Infantry, maybe. I don't know. Well, I can tell you it wouldn't last long in South Africa. They'd have this melted down and sold in scrap yards. Something up there. Something there. Oh, I can't read what it says. Tyres wouldn't pass the roadworthy. Alright, well, we'll stop recording. I'll get a few photos of this magnificent fellow. So, just a little bit about Major Thomas before we go out to his grave. Born in 1861, he died in 1942. James Francis, or Frank Thomas, is best known for his legal defence of Harry Morant, a role immortalised by the Australian actor Jack Thompson in the 1980 film Breaker Morant.
Major J.F. Thomas. I'm your defending officer.
George Whitten.
Harry Morant.
New South Wales Mounted. What sort of a lawyer are you?
They haven't locked me up yet. What sort of soldier are you?
But in addition to his long military career, he also ran a country legal practice, and he owned the Tenterfield Star newspaper, through which he supported the movement for the Australian Federation. He began his career in law in 1887 in Sydney, in 1888, and then he moved to Tenterfield in January of 1890. After he arrived, he served in the Tenterfield arm of the Voluntary Upper Clarence Light Horse, and he was commissioned as a second lieutenant in 1891, captain in 1895, and he was among the early officers to volunteer for the service in South Africa at the outbreak of the Boer War. He was given command of a squadron, and he served the South Africa in February 1900, promoted to the rank of Major on the 29th of January 1901. And he served with courage and distinction, especially during Renostekop and the Elands River siege, the battle. He was awarded the Queen's South African Medal with 4 campaign clasps. The role of events depicted in Breaker Morant began when he was appointed the defence lawyer for Lieutenants Morant, Hancock, George Whitten and other Bushveldt Carbineers. The officers stood accused of the murder of Boer prisoners in the General British Court-Martial proceedings held at Petersburg in the Transvaal 1902. Following the trial which Morant and Hancock were executed, it was an outcome which shook Major Thomas. When the war ended in 1902, he remained in South Africa to crusade for George Whitten's release from the prison in England, and that was achieved in 1904. So when he returned to Tenterfield, he continued to work with the Tenterfield Star, which he'd purchased in 1894, resumed his law practice. The two businesses were eventually co-located following the construction of the building, Tenterfield Star building at the northern end of Rouse Street in 1913, and he continued to support Australia's fledgling federation. He was a lover of Australian poetry. He penned several published pieces, including To a Water Wagtail and Moonbaleen, and he retained a lively interest in researching and writing the history of Tenterfield, authoring its first published history in 1922 was a life member of the Royal Australian Historical Society of New South Wales. So he died on Armistice Day 1942, aged 81. We're out at Tenterfield Cemetery. I came out, it's 9:30, but I think it's going to be warm today, so I came out earlier rather than later. This is the Church of England section. We're here to see Major Thomas. It does give you a row and a number on the cemetery guide, but I see no rows listed. So make of that what you will. We'll just film a little bit, but maybe row 0 is the first one that you come in on. What I'm noticing is that they look old real quick. Like some of them over there, the Catholic section, they're deaths in the years, in the 2000s, and they already look really old. So we know what the grave looks like, so it doesn't matter wandering around. This little one, baby Doolin. Judy, baby Doolin. How cute. Now we'll just wander around. We find it. There is another serviceman in this cemetery that served in the Boer War, and also the light horse at Beersheba. We might see if we can find him. Look at this. An accident, a little accident at Batunga Bridge. Here's a Witten. Very common name though. Yeah, okay. So, looking at the directory, I see that Major Thomas's grave is actually marked, and there's a sign above it. Now, the Church of England section is big. A lot of people in those days were Church of England. Not so much nowadays. I think they've just appointed their first woman as the Bishop of Canterbury, which is good news for progressives. But yeah, I can see a sign, and not a religious one. I can see a sign telling us where the grave is. Right, let's wander. He's that important that of all these graves he gets given his marker. Yes. Once again, these look really old. They look hundreds of years old, but they're 1980s. Whereas that one looks brand new. Like my mum's grave when I went to Brakpan. Like she died in 1971. It looks brand new. I think the marble stains. I think that's what's going on. Is marble takes the rain and the sun badly. Yep, we found him. But thank goodness it's marked, because you'd be wandering around. It's heavy duty. wandering in cemetery. So here he is, Major James Francis Thomas. Hello, Major. Hey. An early officer to volunteer for service in South Africa. Command of a squadron. He sailed in February 1900, promoted to the rank of Major. January 1901. He served with courage and distinction during the Renosterkop and Elands River battles. Well, I did both of those. If you look in my channel, I did Renosterkop, and I spent a fantastic weekend at the site of the Elands River siege. Hello, good Major. You'd be interested to know I've been to those battles, Elands River, Renosterkop, and of interest to you, I also went to the house where the court-martial took place in Petersburg. I actually walked on those wooden floorboards where you and the defendants would have marched in and stomped your feet and saluted the judges. I've been to the Spelonken. I've been to where the executions of Boers took place. I stayed at the Lalapanzi, Louis Trichardt. I saw Fort Edward. I was taken around Fort Edward and the grave markers of the Carbineers, the Bushveldt Carbineers that fell. So you were always somebody that I wanted to see where you lay. Of course, you know, you're portrayed by Jack Thompson. Look, he's never looked better. Jack Thompson has never looked better than he's blonde, shortcut, doesn't look like you, but he really carries your role admirably. Not that close to reality, probably. You always said you knew stuff. You were going to reveal it one day, that you knew stuff that would open up the case and our understanding of it, but you never did. You never shared it. And most of your stuff is lost, but we do have on the internet a letter that George Whitten wrote to you that survived. And then there's the mystery of the stuff found at the Tenterfield tip. You know, Breaker Morant's belongings, Harry Morant's belongings found at the tip. Where did you put them there? Did he give you that stuff when you came back? Did he give you that stuff to keep as a memento of him? What was he like? You know, reading about him. Yeah, get a mixed reaction. What interests me more is old Peter Hancock. He's a real mystery, you know, spoken highly of by priests and ministers and soldiers and officers that served with him, and yet he's portrayed as a cold-hearted assassin doing Morant's bidding. I wonder what the truth is. We'll never know. You knew him. Yeah, he had a full life, didn't you? 81 years. It's pretty good. You died when Second World War was still raging. You must have wondered, will we ever stop having wars? Yeah, actually you died on Armistice Day, 11th of November. You saw a lot of war in your life, didn't you? Well, it was my ambition to come to Tenterfield, to come to your grave. So I thank you for that. Thank you for all you did for the Australians over there. You know, I lived there for 5 or 6 years. People say, well, why are you interested in the Boer War, Cherry? I go, well, when we got to the Transvaal, Brakpan, the war hadn't ended. You know, it was only 70 years before we got there that the war was still raging. So the Afrikaners, the Boers, hated anyone who spoke English. That included us. They didn't distinguish us colonials from the British. They hated us. And I came to understand that the war had never ended in some ways for them. And I didn't even know Australians were there. I came to learn that Australians were serving in the Transvaal in the South African War, so that's where my interest began. So I thank you for your service, and you know, I'm sure you're visited by many curious and interested parties that come out to see you, so I'll just remove that weed from your grave. There's a couple of them. I don't know what I could have placed here to interest you. I don't know what I could have done. It's too strong for me, you need weed killer. Alright. That's the grave of the good Major. I'm going to go and look in town, see if I can find where the Tenterfield Star used to be, the printing press, and also maybe if I can find where his law office was, and also ask at the tourist information where he lived. I think he lived in a place just out of town called Boo Boo or Boorabul or something. I'm not good with names. So I'll see if I can find where he used to live. At ease, Sergeant. At ease, Major. So I don't know if you can see that building there with the chimney, but that's the museum, the Centenary Cottage Museum. Now I believe that in there are the items of Harry Morant's found at the Tenterfield tip. I think there's a penny that was struck by a bullet in there, belonged to him. There was a flag, but you know how it is. They're all run by volunteers, and those people have got their own lives. They can't be sitting here every day for the off chance that someone might pop by. It's only open Saturdays and Sundays and Mondays. But there was a phone number you could ring for consultations, maybe. So anyway, I rang and left a message and said I've come up from Melbourne to see the Breaker Morant belongings. So maybe they'll ring back, maybe not. But the other thing is, certainly a pretty town. The other thing is that there's no tourist information. The council has closed the tourist information office until they figure out what to do with tourism in the town. So in lieu of having an office staff to answer questions, they've printed out a guide to walking around town, and you know, here's the courthouse, look on your left, walk up now to the saddler's office, you know, Tenterfield saddler. But that's not really what I'm into. I wanted to see where Major Thomas's law office was, maybe where the Tenterfield Star was printed that he established. You know, he was a big advocate for Australian Federation. And none of those things that are on that printout, obviously, like also where he lived. I think there's a place called Binaboo or something. It's just out of Tenterfield. On Wikipedia it said he lived out there. But, you know, it'd be nice to know where he lived. But in this day and age, they kind of want you to do everything like zombies. You know, you got to march around, do the same thing. Don't veer off the course. You know, do this, don't do that. So anyway, that's kind of where I'm at the moment, which means I don't really have a lot else to do, because it's I don't have the energy to walk around town. It's 30 degrees already, and do I have to say again, there's no fucking pool at the caravan park. So yeah, I don't know, I'll just have to hang out and relax a bit, and maybe I'll go to Coles and get some stuff to make lunch and just sit around the campsite relaxing, reading my book, and waiting to go out tonight and then home in the morning. You know, the way I am is, you know, always in the past when I travelled on a whim, I'd be pissed off and go, oh fuck it, I'm out of here. I'd go home and pack up that campsite, waste the money that I paid for accommodation, and just get in the car and drive home. But you know, I've got the rest of my life to stay at home and watch YouTube and watch TV and muck around. I'm probably never going to be in Tenterfield again, so I may as well relax and, you know, I might go around and see the Tenterfield Saddler. I quite like that song, okay? I was just driving past and saw the premises of the old Tenterfield Star, which is the newspaper, I believe. I thought Major Thomas started it, or bought it maybe, because 1870s a little early, but he owned it and he ran it, and you can see the old lettering, and he was a strong advocate for Australian Federation. That's just lucky I saw it. Quite a large building. How long he ran it, we don't know, but yeah, lucky I saw it. I'm not sure it's in use anymore. Look at that. And so we've got the bird poo, birds living up there, and the old lock has been broken. Oops, fuck. Maybe that's Major Thomas's old padlock. Maybe the creditor's broke in. There's a new lock. There's the side of it. Oh, that's lucky. I was hoping to see that. The Tenterfield Star. So still being grumpy about no swimming pool at the park, caravan park, I decided to do a bit of research and found out about this place, the Bonnaboo National Park, which actually has a link to Major Thomas, because he had a property out in Bonnaboo, which is about 20 kilometres out of Tenterfield. There's a farming area and there's a river. This is the river. So it's not exactly what was on the recommendations on the website. My phone took me about 5 kilometres up the road from here and just said you're here, and obviously wasn't here. But if I wanted swimming, this is it. I can swim here, and what persuaded me was they've actually built you a little ramp. You can climb down the ladder, have a swim. There's even a couple of plastic canoes someone's left here. You could have paddling around if you wanted. But yeah, it's safe. There's no one here. The place I was looking at had rock pools you could sit in. I think there's a walk along the river up there, a couple of kilometres, a picnic walk. I'm not up for that. But see what I mean? You got a platform, you got the ladder to climb into the river, and there's a couple of plastic canoes. So happy days. Terry's going to have a swim.